Well, good evening, folks. Thanks for coming. I'm really happy to see everybody here for PANMA's Philly Tech Scene event. This is an amazing program we have for you tonight. I think you'll bring me here all the speakers. My name is Reed Gusto. I'm a member of the board, Philadelphia Area New Media Association, which is what PANMA is. I'm just going to take a minute and tell you what PANMA does. Since 1996, we've been trying to represent and support the digital development community. Anybody involved in web development, web design, graphics, video on the web, in fact, journalism on the web, and all of the associated professions that go along with that, including marketing, SEO, and database development and so forth. And we do that by presenting events like this one tonight, where it's somewhat educational. Some of them are more technical than others. And some of them are purely social, where we'll go to a great bar like National Mechanics or someplace and drink beer and trade war stories and try to help each other out that way. I want to point you to one resource. If you go to PANMA.org, which is our website, PANMA, you can sign up for the listserv. And this is an amazing resource where the participants trade all kinds of information, everything from what the code is to get something done, to issues with clients, issues with contracts, new developments, job opportunities, and so forth. And it's a great resource. It's free, so I would encourage you to go to PANMA.org, click on the listserv link, and sign up for it and take advantage of that. Tonight we have a survey of the very extensive Philadelphia technical scene. And while it's impossible to cover every single corner of it, we have 11 people here who are going to do a really good job of getting to just about every zip code anyway. And I want to thank our speakers who are going to present tonight. Thank you all the people that make this event happen. And also our MC for the evening, Tim Allen. And Tim, I'm going to ask you to introduce the first.
Alrighty. First of all, welcome everyone. I'd also encourage you to stick around for the entire presentation because we're going to have a couple of giveaways at the end. And in fine PANMA tradition, after our educational events, we typically go out for a libation or two. So you're all more than welcome to join us and our speakers over there. It's a great way to carry on conversation after the event, meet some people, network a little bit. So first off, who am I? I'm Timothy Allen. I'm Flipper PA on Twitter.
I remember you when you were like that.
Yes, a couple people do. My site is Peregrine Salon, where I blog about all kinds of things from tuning MySQL to building 3D virtual worlds. I was class of '96 from the University of Pennsylvania, and I did my studies here in computer science and psychology. And who am I now? A little bit of a difference. I'm with Warden Computing. I'm an IT director of the web at Warden Research Data Services. We crunch a lot of financial data. I do a lot of work coordinating events here at the Warden School with a lot of the Philly tech groups you'll hear from tonight, including coming up this Saturday, Bar Camp Philadelphia, which I'm sure a lot of people are psyched for. Yeah. So that's going to be here on the same second floor you're on right now. We've got the whole second floor for the whole day. It's going to be wonderful. We even have the plaza outside, so there's been some talk about a wiffle ball home run derby going on, which is going to be a good time. I'm also a member of the PANMA board, and for tonight, I'm your slightly insane MC. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Sean Blanda of Technically Philly.
Star Trek.
All this technology, and it still takes a couple seconds to transition.
What could go wrong with a computer, right?
Go to town.
time, my slide. Cool. Hey everyone, my name is Sean Blanda. I'm with a news site called Technically Philly. We cover startups, VC, creative community, anything that kind of fits into the tech scene in Philadelphia. I just wanted to, since I'm first and since we cover all these things, I kind of wanted to act as your intro to the tech community. If you don't know, or if you're the first time coming out to PANMA, or even if you've been here for a while, I think what's here will surprise you. So I'm Sean Blanda. There's three of us at Technically Philly, Brian Kirk and Christopher Wink. It is our full-time jobs, is running the site, covering all of the events like this and all of the startups and all the businesses. This is my cheat way of saying, if you're doing cool things, please tell me about it right here at Technically Philly so we can write about it. We like to highlight everything going on in Philly. Nothing is too small. We're often the first press that companies get before they go on to bigger and better things and then take over the world. So that's the intro. So I kind of wanted to take a format. I wanted to introduce us, some groups who aren't here right now, but I'll let you going first, so that I might step on some of you too, so I'm sorry. Issues I think you should care about that I've noticed kind of over the past few weeks, months, percolating that I think are going to be a big deal soon, and then kind of news, and then a close about us. So real quick, I wanted to go over a few groups that you probably won't be hearing about tonight, but I'm sure some of you know about, some of you don't, that I think are interest me and I think are a big deal. The first one, which I'm curious about, is Red Snake, which is a Python and Ruby event. The event name is awesome, but I think it's growing in a way, and it could be a lot bigger than it is now. I'm excited to kind of watch and keep an eye on it. Next is Philly Tech Meetup, which I hate the idea of importing things from New York. So this is like New York Tech Meetup in that they get 3 startups and they present or launch at this event. I think it's a good way to kind of get in touch with the startup community and funders and kind of see what people are working on. And I think it's been a real high quality of companies of late and really well attended. Actually, I think 120 people packed into Quorum on the last one. If anyone was there, I couldn't even find a seat. Next, which is just coming up, is TEDx Philly, which is on November 8th, Election Day. Tickets are like $100, but I think it's far worth it. It's just like the TED you know and love, but geared toward Philadelphia. And this one's focused on the city. And then we also have Ignite Philly, which is kind of like this actually. People have 5 minutes to talk, 20 slides to propose their idea. It was actually at Ignite Philly that Technically Philly was born. We attended an Ignite Philly just as regular attendees, and it was packed. It was like a rock concert. We couldn't get in, and that's when we said, there's a community here that people aren't covering, and that's what started us. So it was very near and dear to us. Always good at Ignite Philly. And then Startup Weekend, which I'm sorry you just missed, was last weekend. It's when a bunch of people lock themselves in a room for a weekend and try and launch a company. And this just happened, and what came out of this was F the PPA was the winner, which Mr. Ted Mann is a part of. Where he is. There he is right there.
Don't forget second place.
Second place. And I also think it's funny that a startup named F the PPA won the Philly startup. So there's that, and then Philomade is if you're a creative in the industry. PANMA is obviously a great resource, but I think Philomade is another one for you to consider as well. So the things you should know: a lot of people move to Philly and they might have heard of the tech scene or not heard of the tech scene. I think here are the 4 big tenets that I always end up explaining to people. One, that it's a big tenet. When you talk about the tech scene in San Francisco, it means VC and startups. But I think in Philly it means much more. I think it means creatives. I think it means freelancers. I think it means things like TEDx to Barcamp to this. I think it expands beyond that because I think Philly is more diverse than that. And speaking of diverse, geographically dispersed, Philadelphia, there's a lot in Philly, but there's also a lot in the suburbs. And we argue all the time about whether everyone should move to the city or should be called a region. I'll leave that up to you guys. We're biased towards the city because we're technically Philly, not technically Philly area. DIY. I think Philly has a real big DIY streak in that for a long time, there were so many barriers in getting things done in this town that people would just say, F it, I'm going to do it myself. And I think that translates to entrepreneurialism, but it also translates to art, it translates to co-working spaces, it translates to events, it translates to lots of things. I think our mainstream love is coming. Areas aren't made by magazine stories, obviously. They're made by doing cool things. But a lot of people point to this story, which was in CNN, they called Philadelphia Technological Backwater, which is right there. This actually led to the creation of Philly Startup Leaders, this story. And now, as of last week, all of a sudden, we're like this tech city rising in this magazine, the Phenomenalist. Yeah, so that's a 3-year swing. So I think Philly's getting a lot of love, and rightfully so. There's a lot of people doing cool things. So issues you should know about, things I'm seeing from kind of my perch a little higher and not on the ground. I think Philly is becoming a capital for social entrepreneurship. There are socially minded incubators or socially minded companies, which that means is you're not only considered the bottom line, you're also trying to make a difference. And there's a lot of companies blowing up in Philadelphia that focus on that. Philadelphia also has an infrastructure for that, which is there's a lot of funders in Philadelphia that only fund socially minded businesses. And there's incubators as well. Women in Tech, there are several women in tech groups, which Yasmin's going to talk about that later, Girl Development being one of them. But there's a Geek Girl Dinner and Tech Girls, and there's a lot of those. Open data, Philadelphia government is letting private citizens advocate for open data, which that means like SEPA schedules, making those available so developers can build cool things. I think they're one of the, Philadelphia for once is a little ahead of the curve by opening up more data sets. We're having accelerators everywhere. We have Dream-In Accelerator, Novatorium, just all popping up lately. And more funding events. More companies are getting funded and more companies are exiting. Just last week, DuckDuckGo received some funding and it's getting a little credit as a Google threat. I don't know if it's that big, but it's certainly making some waves, and he's based in Valley Forge. So to close, and if you want news on all this stuff, that's where you should go, techwithphilly.com. And our big thing we have coming up, which I want to make you guys all aware about, is Philly Tech Week. And this is a week-long series of events in April, from the 22nd to the 28th, although we might push it to the 19th to the 28th, because we're having so many people wanting to have events on different days. And this is events ranging from that big tent which I described to you. It could be entrepreneurship, it could be art, it could be video games. The idea is to kind of stand together, collaborate, let everyone know that each other exists, and let the outside world know that we exist. Last year we had 4,000 people come through 65 events, and I want to blow that out way bigger this year. Because last year we only had 2 months to work on it, and this year I'll take it an entire year, so hopefully it'll be much better. So if you want to get involved, that's phillytechweek.com. We're at technicallyphilly.com. If you have any questions for me, I'm at Sean Blaine on Twitter. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, Sean. Yeah, we're going to as soon as we hit the Mac. Sorry. And Mac, PC? Okay. Yeah, everything's on votes, so I'm just giving people personal preference. Because we don't play favorites here. So up next is Doug Stewart of the Philly WordPress Meetup. And you can start talking about the Philly WordPress Meetup. I'll take the presentation up in 1 second.
As Ted said, my name is Doug Stewart. I am one of 2 co-organizers of the Philadelphia WordPress Meetup. I'm also one of 4 at this point organizers of WordCamp Philly, which is, I'll get into that in a little bit here, but the Reed Festival is also one of our organizers. And we're pretty excited about that event.
There we go.
Great, that's what we'll start. There's a screen.
I'll switch up the screen modes.
So on Twitter, I'm at Zamoose. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. Here's the original Gangsters Philly WordPress meetup. We were back in 2005. It was a fairly small group and comprised mainly of people who were not from the city proper. We were mainly mainly summer residents, and kind of all came into South Philly for meetups. Met at Fergie's, I think, for a while, and basically held down the fort. Owen Winkler, who's on the very right of that, or very left of that photo, was the original organizer. He left to found another open source project called Amari, which is another blogging tool. So that went along, and we just kind of had attendance problems, that people just weren't kind of getting excited about it, and Owen's interest drifted elsewhere. Nobody else really stepped up to pick up the torch, and so it basically kind of petered out in 2007. There was also a Philly bloggers meetup, and there was an attempt to kind of get everything meeting up in the Northeast at Chicken and Pete's. That didn't really pan out. It was just kind of too far for people that were out on the main line, and that never kind of drew the crowd. So fast forward to 2010, Brad Williams, who is one of the co-founders of a large WordPress development company, moved from New Jersey up towards New York area and moved down here to Philly. He got really excited about the notion of having a WordPress meetup. And so he kind of reached out to some people, myself included, and so we started it again in 2010, last year. So in the space of a year, we've gone from essentially 2 organizers to 435 people actually signed up on the meetup. Our facilities thus far have been, we're basically capped at 40. We're meeting at Future Media Concepts over in the Old City. So we usually hit about that number, 35 to 40 people on a monthly basis. And we almost meet monthly. There have been some months that we've not had either speakers to come out, or Brad and I have been too busy to actually organize. The website's not on there, but it's Philly.rb, and it needs some loving, but we're working on that. So like I said, WordCamp Philly is coming up, and it is a day-long conference dedicated to WordPress, learning about how to use it, how to develop with it, how to optimize for SEO, how to do all sorts of things. And it's November 5th and 6th. Tickets for the 6th are sold out. It's a developer day where it's going to get together and do some real hacking with people who come out for that. There's still some tickets left for the Saturday, and then we're going to actually have National Mechanics all to ourselves from 8 to 11 that Saturday night. So if you don't even go to the event, you can come out and hang out for 3 hours. So we're hitting all skill levels, from the basic user to the power user to the developer, and we're actually having a designer track and a hands-on workshop track. So that should be pretty cool. Like I said, there are the URLs. And so what I wanted to actually cover, I kind of got all that out of the way, lessons learned in organizing a meetup. What it really took, I think, from that 2007 to 2010, there was no passion. There was nobody there with really a drive, a real fire to getting started again. And I really enjoyed my time spending for the 2005-2007 meetups. It was interesting, but the organizers' interest waned, and so it just kind of vanished. When Brad came in, he brought a real fire to the process and got myself and a bunch of other people excited. And so I think that was one of the big things. And one of the things that I've noticed about my interactions with the Philadelphia community at large, be it the city or the suburbs, is that if you demonstrate passion, if you go out and show passion, people react to that. Philly, I think, as a city, from a sports perspective, from a cultural perspective, really respond to passion. But there's a hesitance to actually show it unless somebody else is kind of out there on the vanguard. And so it really took somebody like I said, Brad coming in and going, yeah, this is awesome, we should do this, this is great. And then everybody goes, yeah, I really would like to do that. I've got passion, I really want to do that. I really wanted somebody else to step out first. So that's one thing that we've learned, is that you're going to be surprised, I think, by the reaction of other people who have similar interests, similar affinities, etc. Just by putting yourself out that just a little bit of, hey, you know what, I'm going to take the initiative. I'm going to be here. It's cool if nobody else comes, but it's going to be me, a couple people meeting, and then it goes to 435 total attendees in a year. I think that's pretty cool. So, other lessons learned. We've actually been looking at doing smaller meetups. So like I said, we were meeting at Future Media Concepts. it was just too small. We would have a lot of people there, the air conditioning wouldn't work sometimes, it would be really hot, sometimes we'd have 2 speakers, and we had 2 rooms, you could kind of fit 20 people in each room. Sometimes we'd only have 1, so we had technical difficulties and all kinds of things like that. So we said, well, you know what, Philadelphia is a city of neighborhoods. It's defined by neighborhoods and kind of suburbs and everything. Let's start looking at doing some smaller meetups further out. We've only got a couple, but the one that we did in Chestnut Hill actually had a really good response. We almost had as many people as we would have on a normal meetup day come out to that. We just reserved the top floor of Campbell's Pub on Germantown Ave, and for about 3 hours, sat around, ate food, drank beer. People came and asked questions. Some people were doing live hacking. Some people were developing plugins. So that was really cool. So I think the passion. I think getting out into the neighborhoods or giving people opportunities to react in physical locales that make sense to them is also a big thing. And then, last of all, I think from a lessons learned perspective, watching it go down the tubes, so to speak, in 2007, you need to be passionate, but then you need to find somebody else to kind of pass that on to and be a little bit of backup. Owen just kind of got burned out. Nobody else was really willing to step up and take that, and so it just kind of went down. Now, there were other environmental factors. I don't think that community was quite at the same place it was, that it is now. But so if you're looking to build community organically, you can't force it, but get out there, show some passion, show some initiative, and make it easy. Be as close as you can to a set to stop and kind of seek for help. And always figure out where the parking is. We got a couple people towed from one of the meetups. This poor woman just moved into the area, and it's her first time in the city. She parked in the wrong place in the neighborhood. So that's no good. So yeah, FWPA. So anyways, that's my real quick summation. And like I said, add some moose if you have questions. And we would love to see you come out. If you have questions about WordPress, about the platform, about coding for it, about developing for it, WordCamp is an ideal place to get there. If you can't make it out, we meet pretty much monthly. We're actually meeting 26th. 26th of this month. It's a change of venues. We're no longer at FMC. We're actually meeting down at CHOP in the new Coltet building. So that should be pretty cool. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jessica Ivins from Philly.rb and Happy Cog, amongst other endeavors. I'm going to since this is her laptop, I'm going to ask her to set the displays to duplicate since we keep switching what format we're using. So if you could take a second to just duplicate the displays and then fire up your presentation, I think we should be good to go.
Is it okay if we have them not duplicated, because I actually prefer that?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
It's just tough on the PDF.
And so where are the... Great.
There we go.
Okay. Cool. So thanks so much to PANMA and Wharton for having me tonight and for having us here. My name is Jessica Ivins. I'm here to talk to you about some things that I'm involved with here in Philly, and hopefully I'll inspire you to get involved as well. So I just want to give you some background about me and what I do. I'm an experience designer, and I'll be explaining user experience in just a few minutes if you're not familiar with what that is. I used to be a front-end developer and visual designer, and I gradually migrated over to UX, officially probably in like 2007. So I work for Happy Cog. Happy Cog is an agency with 3 offices. We have one office here in Center City. Just want to talk to you a little bit about Happy Cog, because I think there are a lot of really great companies here in Philly, and we tend to forget that. We tend to like kind of look for organizations to get involved in, but forget about all the great work that people are doing sometimes. So just to give you some background about Happy Cog, we are an award-winning agency. Last year we won Design Agency of the Year from .NET Magazine and 3 IMA awards. We consist of 26 professionals across 3 offices. The San Francisco office is actually moving to Austin. We work with a diverse set of clients. We don't really specialize in any verticals, so we've done e-commerce, we've done higher education, we've done healthcare, all sorts of stuff. How many of you have read articles on A List Apart? So, okay, most of you. We are affiliated with A List Apart. A List Apart is an online magazine for people who make websites. Great resource if you don't check it out, or if you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend you do so. This is our founder, Jeffrey Zeltman. He also founded an Event Apart, and he founded A List Apart, as well as Happy Cog. An Event Apart is also a conference that takes place across the country several times a year. Great conference, definitely check it out. Jeffrey's pretty well known in the field. He wrote the book on web standards. So I personally look up to him as a mentor, and a lot of people do in the field. Great guy, and he really has a great vision for his work and founded Happy Cog and founded lots of other stuff. The last thing I'm going to mention that we're affiliated with is A Book Apart. A Book Apart is relatively new, and it publishes brief books covering different topics in web design. And we actually just published 2 new books this week. So that's Happy Cog in a nutshell. I'm going to move on to what I do for a living, user experience. So if you were to define user experience, which is also called UX, it essentially comes down to how that person feels about using a product, system, or service. And at the end of the day, you want that person to have a good experience. So you want them to be able to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, whether they're using a website or a phone or whatever it is they're using. And you don't want them to get frustrated, you don't want them to get angry, you don't want them to fail trying to do what it is they're setting out to do. So I'm going to show you a video clip from a movie that you'll probably recognize. And it actually shows you what a bad experience can be like. And is Tim anywhere around here? Because I need audio for this.
Sure. I just finished filling my water. Because we ran out of water bottles. Just put that on in, I think it'll be good to get.
Thanks.
Why does it say pepper jam? Please, no pepper jam. I swear to God, one of these days, I just kick this piece of shit out the window.
You and me both, man. I think it's lucky I'm not armed.
Piece of shit.
Point of the exercise is that you're supposed to figure out what you would want to do. PC load letter? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I need. Yeah, give it to me. Come on, little fucker, let's go. That's what I need. Let's do that. Let's do exactly that, you little fuck.
So hopefully you're not offended by cursing. I'm not. But that is a really funny example that we all know. That's the movie Office Space. And it just shows you people having a really, really bad experience with their printer. And that's the kind of thing that we want to avoid. As user experience designers, it's our job to make sure that doesn't happen, whether we're designing a website or a printer or whatever it is that we're working on. So that actually leads me to Philly Chi. How many of you are familiar with the organization Philly Chi? Maybe you've heard of it, maybe, okay, so most of you. Philly Chi is a local volunteer-run organization for user experience professionals. It's not just user experience professionals. There are all sorts of people who get involved. There are designers, developers, technical writers. But it's a really great group of people, really friendly, really open. They have a lot of great events. Kalani, who's sitting right here, is the secretary for Philly Chi. I was the secretary for 2 years. I can't say enough how great of a group it is. They do have happy hours and they have meetings. They have local speakers and they have national speakers come in. So if you want to find out more information about them, you can check out their website, phillychi.acm.org. So last but not least is Girl Geek Dinners, which is another organization that I've become involved with. I don't run Girl Geek Dinners. I've just kind of become involved in the past year, and it's a great organization. I'm really glad I came across it. Tristan, who's sitting up there in the red shirt, actually runs Girl Geek Dinners. And the goal of the organization is to bring women from various technical fields together for socializing, networking, and learning. It's really cool to go to a tech event. Like, I love going to all sorts of tech events, but it's really cool to go to a tech event where the majority of people there are women, because you don't really see that very often. And it's really neat to meet other women in the field, see what their contributions are, see what they're bringing to the table. So it's another great organization. They have happy hours and events. If you want to find out more about them, you can go to their website, gddphl.com. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jessica.
Or mirror them?
That'll probably work best, because some of them are PDFs. Perfect. Thank you very, very much.
All right, up next we have Alex Hillman of Indie Health, who I don't think needs any other further introduction to most of you. So I will let Alex take it away.
I'm on slides, they make me nervous. I'm just going to do a little story time, so I hope that's okay. So in 2002, I moved to Philadelphia because I wanted to pursue a career in technology. I went to Drexel University, across the street. Go Drexel, go Dragons. And I had this, it was actually Drexel's co-op program that led me to find this version of technology. I got involved with some of the Philadelphia agencies. If anyone's familiar with a company called Refinery, G2 Interactive. I was actually there that I was introduced to Jeffrey Zeldman's book. It was Designing Web Standards, and it sort of introduced me to what I thought was the way I wanted to build things on the internet. I wanted to be a craftsman on the internet. I wanted to make amazing things that people cared about. And so I made my way through agency life, and in agency life, if anyone here has worked in an agency, sometimes the priorities of making the best product aren't always aligned with what the client wants. So at the end of 2006, I was looking for an exit. I was looking for a way out because I wanted to make great things on the internet. And it was actually in October of 2006 that I joined the PANMA email list as I was trying to figure out where the people that I could do things with around Philadelphia might be. And I started emailing, checking out, was finding out that there were some people in Philadelphia that were also making things on the internet, some for clients, some for products. I was like, this is cool, there are people in Philadelphia. But I wanted more. And so I think seeing people that were doing things on around Philadelphia was enough for me to jump ship from my day job and go out and be a full-time freelancer and just find clients and do the work that I wanted to do. Ultimately, ran into the same problems that the clients aren't always aligned with what I wanted to do. I never did. But as I was building my network of people that I could collaborate with to build great things for whoever I was building them for, I was running against some walls. PANMA was really the biggest resource I had at my fingertips, and I wanted more. It was easier for me to find more people like me in any city other than Philadelphia, and all I had to do was walk outside. I couldn't find anybody that I felt like was like me. And so I actually almost moved to San Francisco. I had a job lined up, and I was like, we're going to do the geek dream. I'm going to go get a job in Mountain View, do the shitty commute from downtown San Francisco to Mountain View, and that's going to be great. And when the job fell through, as many startup jobs tend to, I took a moment to reflect and say, why was I leaving Philadelphia in the first place? I like it here. My family's not far away. I've got great friends. I've got good clients. I can make enough money to pay my rent, support my girlfriend. Why was I leaving again? I said, oh, right, it was the people that I was looking for. So if I could just work a little bit harder and find some of those people, maybe I won't ever have to leave. And so I went on a blitz, and while we've got 11 representations of events and groups around Philadelphia, and during Tech Week, it's like a deafening cacophony of how much stuff is going on in Philadelphia. I didn't have tools to find it, so I had to go out and try really hard to find anything. So tons of talking to anybody that I could find about building stuff on the internet and finding out where they went to meet other people and just showing up anywhere I could, meeting people. And what I found was I found the people I was looking for. I found the people that wanted to build cool things and great things on the internet. But I discovered that a lot of them were also struggling to find other people that wanted to build cool, interesting, creative things. So I said, hey, we should start a club of people that are trying to find people that want to build cool, interesting things on the internet. And it was actually, it really started to grow, and we were continued to use PANMA as a resource to find more of those people, talk about the things we were doing. We started doing these bi-weekly or so gatherings where we'd get together and work from a cafe, not by ourselves, but together, just to get out of the apartment. And it was actually on the PANMA list that I met my soon-to-be business partner, Jeff Tomasi. And I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool as I'm gathering all these people, what if we had a place to work? What if we had a place to go do what we're doing in these cafes? And work on the stuff that we care about, but just constantly surrounded by people that work on stuff that we care about. And he's like, I have this background in the arts and arts collectives, and I know how this works. I know how it doesn't work a lot of times as well, so we can learn from those lessons and make it better. And meanwhile, I learned about this thing called co-working that was going on in San Francisco while I was making that attempt to move there. And the idea was basically people that wanted the structure and camaraderie of an office. That's the good parts of having an office without all the politics and bullshit that come along with it. And so instead of having to choose one or the other, said, well, we have a place where we can go. We're independent, but together. I think that's a great idea. And it makes total sense in Philadelphia, especially as I'm finding all these people. And so this group started growing and growing and growing. And eventually people started asking, well, hey, what if we could do this every day? And I said, you know what, I was just thinking about that. What if we did it? And so we put together a membership model, and we started, saying, well, it's going to cost some money to support a space, so is this something I should pay for? And people were like, yeah, absolutely, I'm spending all this money in Starbucks, and I may as well put that towards a place. We'll have coffee. And I said, sure, I'll have coffee. Why would I have coffee? Making up, I was like, but anyway. Yeah, whatever you want, of course. And the next thing we knew, so mind you, this is a distance between October of 2006, where I couldn't find a single person, to August of 2007, where I had people calling me multiple times a day going, did you find a place yet? Can I write you a check yet? And I'm like, we don't have a business yet. You can't write me a check. I don't know how to start a business. I'm afraid, I have no idea what I'm doing. And August of 2007, we opened our first co-working space, first co-working space in Philadelphia called Indie Hall. Indie Hall. And it was we were inspired by what was happening in San Francisco and other cities, but the entire time we were discovering Philadelphia, not trying to make Philadelphia San Francisco. I think that's why Indie Hall is unique. I think that's why Indie Hall is special and continues to be, is because it's full of people that want to do cool, interesting, creative things on the internet, and they want to do it the Philly way. That DIY way that Sean was talking about is really, really near and dear to our hearts, because we didn't have anyone to tell us how to do it, so we had to make it up as we went. And so we opened that space in August of 2007. Me and one other full-time person that was having, it was literally 15 or 20 of us, and we took the leap of faith and said, people will want this. If enough people said, people are already here, more people will want it as soon as they see it. People can't ask for this because they don't even know what it looks like yet. And sure enough, inside of 18 months, we were full. We had a waiting list. I said, okay, this worked really well. What do we do now? And so with the help of our members, once again, we found another location, and for the last 2.5 years, we've been in a 5,000 square foot loft in Old City. We're no longer on the alley that we basically open our office in an alley. Basically, you walk out the back door of the hybrid, you're in that sort of smelly alley. That's where we were. Now we're right on 3rd Street, 3rd Market. Awesome location, huge open floor plan workspace, and over 150 people from all over Philadelphia, from all over the world actually, come to work at Indie Hall because they choose to. It's a room full of people that don't have to go to work. They choose to go to work. They choose to get up in the morning, put on a pair of pants, say, I'm going to Indie Hall today. Because I'm excited to be around my coworkers. I'm excited to be around the people that are doing cool, interesting, creative things. And now it's not just on the internet. We have the designers and developers that I found, 4.5 years ago. But we also have artists and musicians. And people who work for nonprofits and people that work in pharma and biotech. So much like technically Philly does an amazing job of covering the big tent from a news perspective, we're a home to the big tent. There's a lot of people in this room that don't have memberships, and actually, I think I looked at the list, and like almost half of the people that are presenting tonight have some sort of affiliation or membership with Indie Hall as well. So it's something I'm immensely proud of being a part of, because it lets me be close to the people that I couldn't find 5 years ago, and continue to be impressed by the awesome things that are in Philadelphia. So if you haven't come to visit us at Indie Hall, I encourage you to. Come to one of our events. We're hosting the Bar Camp pre-party tomorrow night. And then we have events going on all through the fall and the winter as well. So thank you for having me, and thank you for being on the show.
It's a party you'll want to come to tomorrow, trust me. Next up, we have Matt Schaefer of Philly.rb.
Cool. Thanks for having me, everyone. My name is Matt Schaefer. I'm the current organizer of Philly.rb, along with Trevor Manat. How many people have been out to Philly.rb or Philly.rb events? Yeah, just all right, at least one. How many people would call themselves programmers here? Yeah. All right. Or how many people would like to become programmers? All right, at least a couple. Yeah. Well, all right, good. Philly.rb is a great place to do that, and what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit just about the sort of events that we hold like very, very regularly. First off is our presentations. They happen every month on the second Tuesday of the month. The topics range kind of all over the map. From the back end, we have Rob DeMarco here telling us about A/B testing. He did a great presentation on queuing systems, databases, Redis, Rails, of course. It's Ruby. We have presentations on JavaScript, testing topics, and even to a certain extent, HTML, CSS. We had a really good presentation by David Bach down from DC, from DC, I should say, on Compass, which is a CSS framework for making your designs a little bit easier. We have Hack Nights, which have been happening every Monday. They might go to once every other week. This is at Neomine Labs, which I like to think of as kind of like an invitational indie hall. It's another space where a number of people from different companies come together. We have people come in and sit and work hack for a day. A little more back-end programmer focused. Here we just have people hanging out, working on their projects. Feel free to come out. We usually buy beer, open doors. And the next thing that I'm kind of excited about is we're going to start having some international collaboration coming up with Philly.rb. For those of you that don't know much about Ruby, it originally came from Japan. I have some family ties in Japan, and I thought, well, why not put two and two together and see if we can get the Japanese Ruby community talking a little bit with the US Ruby community. So coming up on November 16th will be the first international Google Hangout between the Philly.rb, that's the Philly Ruby community, and Ruby Tokai, which is the Nagoya community. So that should be a lot of fun. This picture here is them all playing rock, paper, scissors. That's the way they do their giveaways there. I didn't know you could do rock, paper, scissors with like 40 people, but it works. And the last thing I'd like to mention, as Sean did earlier, is Red Snake Philly. Did anyone make Red Snake Philly last February? Oh, okay, so next February coming up. This was jam-packed. Hopefully we can find a bigger room. If you can't find developers in Philadelphia, come here, right? This was like, I took this as people were packing up, like there were even way more people than this. Normally, Python and Ruby, it's kind of arch rivals. They go head-to-head a little bit. But for the Red Snake Philly, we come together. Tom Panzarella, who runs Philly Pug, and the organizers of Philly.rb get together and plan the Red Snake Philly, which last time was a set of lightning talks. So it was like 10 minutes Ruby, 10 minutes Python, 10 minutes Ruby, 10 minutes Python. We're stepping it up a notch for this year. It's going to be a full day thing. We haven't fully decided the format yet. The plan is presentations probably in like morning and early afternoon, and then just like open hack session and tutorials in the afternoon. So it's going to be a full one-day event this year. It should be fun. We're also going to try to keep this free or close to free, and hopefully keep as much corporate sponsorship out of it as possible, right? Keep it developer focused. I also wanted to take a minute, since there were a number of kind of more kind of, I don't know what to say, how to describe it exactly, but more back-end focused programmer groups that I'm a part of, right? So Philly.rb is your local Philly group. Conshohocken.rb just got started up, so if you're up in Conshohocken, check that out. That's another Ruby group. Philly Pug, which is the Python group. Philly Lambda, which is focused on functional programming, so that's for all you Lispervers, F#, OCaml, that sort of thing. I wanted to mention those as well, because we have, I find it interesting how sometimes the really, in the terminal, Vim, new screen folks don't always collaborate with the rest of the Philly tech scene, so hopefully I can encourage you guys to come out to those events as well. And lastly, join in. Our website is philly.rb.org, @philly.rb on Twitter, and if anyone here actually uses IRC, it's our IRC channel. I'm in there pretty much all the time. We usually have. I was really happy that when our IRC channel had more people than the New York RB. That was exciting. And that's what I had. Any questions?
Yeah. How do you play rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, so what you do, like, we could do it right now. It's there's a speaker, right, like a central person. He goes either rock, paper, scissors, and everyone in the audience does whatever they want to do. And then it has to be a win, right? And so you would allow anyone who's not a win, it can't be a tie. And then eventually you get down to 2 people and they just go head-to-head standards. And I was impressed. It took a room of about 30 people and got it down to 1 winner in maybe 3 months. So, yeah.
Thanks very much, Matt. And be sure to talk to me about space for resume, or maybe it'll work something else.
That'd be great.
So up next, we have Kalani Nicole of Bar Camp Philadelphia and many other things. So without further ado, here is it.
Looks okay up there. It's fine.
You sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Hi everybody, how are you? Who is going to Bar Camp Philly here? Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow it starts. Who is going to the party? Alright, well, if you're coming to Bar Camp and you can't make the party, that's fine. If you're not coming to Bar Camp, please come to the party because we actually have some space. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that is. First, I just want to, and I'm going to actually assault you with a couple of other things I'm really involved with in Philadelphia. So first, I just want to introduce myself. In addition to being an organizer for Bar Camp Philly, my professional practice is as a content strategist. My freelance business is at contentdistillery.com. I'm also an organizer for the Content Strategy Meetup in Philly. I'm a member of an art space in the Kensington neighborhood of Philadelphia called Little Berlin. I'm also a member of Indie Hall. I'm an officer for Philly Chi. I volunteer for TEDx Philly. So in other words, I'm pretty involved. And that's kind of what I love about Philly. It's easy to do that. It's really, really easy to get involved. We have an amazing community of people doing all sorts of things, and this is where it all sort of started for me, which was Bar Camp Philly 4 years ago. Our first event, I think we were just over 100 people this year. We are sold out at 400 people, and this is just a day-long event. People come together. There's just a ton of space set up. It's an unconference event, so there's no agenda, right? We create the schedule the day of the event. This is an example of the schedule board. So literally, if you have something you want to share, you show up, you write it on a card, you put it on the board. Then throughout the day, you choose sessions you're interested in attending. There's only 2 rules, really, at Bar Camp Philly. One is no selling, right? We're here to learn and share and be collaborative. We're not here to pitch. The second one is vote with your feet. So if you find yourself in a session that wasn't really what you were expecting, get up, go, find something new. So it's just a totally dynamic day. It's different every time. We never know what's going to happen at Bar Camp, and that's kind of what's so great about it. We have some stuff going on in the hallways. Last year, Microsoft came and brought a Kinect, and we said, all right, let's set it up, and people were playing in the lobby. And it's really great. Bar Camp now in its 4th year. We have people coming from all over. So it's not just people in Philadelphia, and that's what I really love about it too. In New York, DC, these guys come from Florida each year that are a little kooky and really spice it up. So, like I said, sorry, we have reached max capacity. However, every year, we usually have a wait list going, but since we just sold out, we'll probably not. But if you follow Bar Camp Philly, if you're really interested, you've never been, you're just hearing about it somehow, that's cool. Please come talk to me afterwards, follow us on Twitter, and we might be able to find a way to, have you join in the fun. And the one thing I want to say, I just want to echo what was said a little earlier, which is, if you have some passion, you can really make something happen. And the other thing I want to mention is that coming from, the great thing about Bar Camp for me that I really love is that every year something tangible comes out of it. Like something starts at Bar Camp that you weren't expecting. And when we did this a few years ago, the Bar Camp format was completely foreign to Philly. And since then, we've had sort of all these spin-off events come out. You saw Word Camp earlier. There's a Bar Camp News Innovation that happens each year as part of Technically Philly. I'm sorry, Philly Technically Philly's the organizer again. And so for me last year, this was content strategy, right? So I did a little talk at Bar Camp. I didn't have my slides ready, but the day of the event, I put something together. It was called Fuck Yeah, Content Strategy. Who here knows what content strategy is, by the way? Some people. Okay. I'm not going to get too much into detail with that, but basically, I gave a little presentation talking about what I was doing, and some people in the room came up to me afterwards and said, hey, I kind of do this, and, we don't really know a whole group of people doing this in Philly, so why don't we get together? So we did, and we created a meetup group, and now we have 72 members, and it's kind of amazing. It's not so active. It's a quarterly group. We meet pretty much every 4 months, and it's really just practitioners coming together to share their knowledge and meet other people, talk about successes and failures. since it is a new group, sort of a new discipline, it's a really sort of a support group at this time, you know. Like you were talking about, you know, WordPress when the texting wasn't really good or like that technology hadn't taken hold. We kind of are coming together to like say, you know, this is a discipline and these are the ways that we're practicing here in Philadelphia. Our next event is coming up on November 29th, and it's called Sites That Suck. And basically what we're doing, and all of you are welcome to join in the meetup group, even if you're not a content strategist. Maybe you're in an internal role where you have some content challenges, you feel some pain points with what you're publishing, you know, you have stuff everywhere and you just don't know how to get control of it. We can help you with that. But so we're going to start a conversation and identify a few sites that suck, and then have a little bit of a workshop event where we kind of try to do some, you know, quick and dirty content strategy to come up with ideas that might make them less painful, these sites. So, in addition to all that stuff, I also am very involved in the art community in Philly, and this is something a little new for me. So I've become really interested in the lines where art and technology cross in the city. There's a lot happening here. There's a lot of hacker spaces, so we have Next Fab Studio, the Hacktory, Redboard, which also has a little bit of an exhibition space, so it's a place where some art can happen. And then two collectives, Extra Extra and Little Berlin, and we're more on the art community side, but we've started to sort of delve into the areas where these two cross and how technology can be presented in a fine art context. So as I started to get more and more involved in Little Berlin in the last year, you know, saw a lot of this stuff happening, I identified a need, and I really just wanted to put in a room all of my geek friends and all of my artist friends and see what happens, right? So this is Open Web Studio, and it's something I'm running as a Little Berlin member, but oftentimes it happens at Indie Hall, actually, which is a perfect location, because the nerds are already there. And so essentially what it is it's an experimentation ground. It's an ongoing workshop, and it's totally open format, much like Barcamp is. And we're really just trying to get these two different disciplines to start talking and playing with each other. Sometimes, you know, there's a lot of stuff happening right now in internet art. It's a specific area that I'm really interested in. I'm sure you all know about, like, you know, new media stuff that's happening that includes like lighting and interactive stuff. And so this is just sort of an experimentation ground and trying to create in the real world. I think that was echoed in someone else's talk, like a place where this can take hold here in Philadelphia. Sometimes, let's see here. Oh, sorry. We also have, if you're a technologist, I would really, and are at all interested in the ways that technology might be applied to art, if you're not quite ready to go sit in a room with artists who are generally terrified of the web and kind of scared to even get started, one thing that I'm doing as part of Open Web Studio is I'm inviting everyone who's participating to just post on this Posterous, things they come across online that are examples of internet art, creative coding, different stuff that's happening. So if you're kind of piqued your interest by this, you can just follow this. It's an easy thing to do, and stuff will start coming to you. If you are interested in coming to an event, the next event I'm actually really excited about. So sometimes we do just the open format hacking. This is going to be a more specific topic. So I started a conversation with a company called TreeSaver, which is a responsive publishing platform built in JavaScript. So it looks awesome on every device, right? It looks great on the computer, it looks great on the iPad, it looks great on your phone. And we started using it to publish our exhibition catalogs instead of thinking about getting those printed, because we're a non-funded art organization. So they saw that we were using it, and they said, you know, it would be great if we can come out and talk to this community and get more people doing creative coding with our platform. So they're coming from New York to present about the project and show a simple implementation on the 7th. And I just wanted to make sure props were given to Philomade and TEDx, but that's already happened, so that's it. Thank you very much.
So I'm not sure if our next speaker is quite here yet. So
I am.
He is. Oh. He is. Okay. Oh, there you are. Come on up, Michelangelo. Mikey.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, 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 wrong slide. It's all good?
Yeah.
you go.
All right, hey everybody. I'm Mike Yale. Sorry if I pseudo-read, otherwise we'll be here all night. So, thanks PANMA for inviting me to come out tonight. Let's start off with some brief details on who I am. Let's take a look at a timeline. I was born in Philadelphia. I was born and raised in the only section of Philadelphia. Went to both college and high school here, and have been in the area generally my whole life. And that's ultimately all that matters. But really, what do I do? Like as a job, that's I think something people always wonder about me. I'm a web designer. I've been making websites for over 10 years, and I even hold a degree in it. I work for a marketing firm, an advertising agency, a small e-learning company, and these days I'm out in Newtown Square at my first large corporation, SAP. Fun facts, used to be biz dev, and I was a car salesman at one point. What else? Currently I'm a blogger for CBS Philly, written for You Wish You Knew, Ben Kessler's on Reddit, and I had a guest post on Celebrity once. But, anyone knows me knows that I'm way too active on social media, mostly for pleasure, but, I've done some campaigns for the greater glory of marketing and PR. I tweet too much, check in and Foursquare everywhere. I'm involved in the wonderful Yelp and food spotting communities, and as of the other day, I feel like I can mention Tumblr. Putting aside my personal Tumblr where all I post is cats, I started to see that this is not a cheesesteak, which has been making the rounds in some local media. Okay, but onto the big stuff. I'm best known for Geekadelphia. It's a blog that was co-founded by Eric Smith and Tim Carino. Eric, formerly of GPTMC, now with Court Books, publisher of Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, and many other titles. Tim, a talented local designer, currently with QVC. So the blog literally started as a platform for Eric to stretch his writing muscles and to post videos of Tim walking around in a stormtrooper costume. Today, we've grown to over 10 contributing writers covering film, video game, and comic book reviews. We write about many local ongoings, basically anything creative in tech that's going on in Philadelphia. We're at the point where we have 3,000 daily impressions, over 100,000 monthly. So with the growth of the blog came recognition and the cultivation of a geek culture in Philly and pretty much all over. Geeks are the cool kids again. Eric and Tim started the blog at the right time. So about a year ago, they decided that there needed to be some sort of praise and recognition for the local audience and community. And it had to be done in our cool, unserious way. So, planning, boom, the Geekadelphia Awards were born out of this. So, planning started in the spring of 2011 along with the Academy of Natural Sciences, where we'd be hosting the Shindig. Over the next few months, we figured out the format, categories, nominees, sponsors, and event logistics. It was decided that the event would happen in late summer and be a black tie affair because we clean up nicely. So we ran around acquiring sponsorships like Victory Brewing, Chevrolet, National Mechanics, Live Nation, Neurowater, Filling Films Best, JobString partners, and most importantly it was the Academy itself for the venue that we were able to literally have this event for free for a pay what you want donation amount. The results, we served food and beverage and entertained close to 400 people. Contributing writers served as a staff, and we invited out some notable locals to present some awards. We gave away awards for Best New Local Startup, Podcasts, Vodcasts, Viral Videos, Outstanding Achievements in Film Production, Comic Art, Arts and Culture, and Indie Game Development. And we also raised $1,000 for the Academy. So, all things said, how did we feel about the results? We ended up on the Daily News the next morning, and what I find pretty funny about that, so I'm on the cover and Andy Reid was on the back cover. The response was reasonably unexpected. On the eve of the event, we did oversell the event. We appeared in several major media outlets locally and nationally. The big question is, are we doing it again? Absolutely. Well, we need your help to make next year's event better. We'd like to come up with new categories and nominees. We're thinking about more entertainment such as live music. Basically, we just want to have fun and celebrate the awesome creative people in the city. So, You'll find a 90-minute video of the Geek Awards. The entire thing can be viewed at PhillyGeekAwards.com, as well as details of past winners and presenters. And in closing, to get a bit general and weirdly philosophical, I love the fuck out of the city. I love the people that I've met thanks to advances in technology and my role in overlapping creative fields. It hasn't always been easy, nor should it. I'm a firm believer in love what you do and do what you love. And eventually people will either end up paying you for it, or at least we'll get some recognition. We'll make up a category for you. I guarantee it. And, and I don't mean sweat equity, or it'll look great on your resume, or it'll get you some great exposure. Don't devalue creative work by giving it away for free all the time. Be proud and passionate, avoid stagnation, keep active, stay as creative as possible, just never give up. Reading Geekadelphia. So, that's all.
Next up, we have Howard Tyson of ZivTech.
Do you browser or anything?
A browser would be awesome.
Chrome?
Chrome is phenomenal.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
It's white space. White space.
It's not easy to fix Drupal. You know? Hit refresh. So I'm Howard Tyson. I work for a company called ZivTech. I ran out of time putting slides together, and then on my way over I realized I was wearing a button shirt, but this underneath. Yeah, even better. So at ZivTech, we work on a bunch of open source stuff, but our bread and butter is Drupal. That's what we know and love, and that's what really brought us all together. The founders, Alex and Jody, who a lot of you I'm sure know, met at the Philly meetup group, which is also where I met them and hooked up with them and started working with them not too long after they started the company. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about Drupal, and then I'll talk a little bit about ZivTech and why I think we're a great company that if you're interested in getting into development, you should consider applying. We're hiring. I'll get back to that. Who's familiar with Drupal? Okay. So it seems like a lot of people have at least a little bit of a feel for it. For the few people in the audience that didn't raise their hands, I'll give you guys a brief introduction. Drupal is primarily a LAMP stack app. Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, although you can run it in different environments. What makes Drupal different and really cool is that its goal is a little bit different than almost any other software that's out there. Its goal is to sort of be a web application for building web applications. The idea is that you can build your own web app. You can build your own Flickr equivalent, your own YouTube equivalent, without ever having to write any code. You end up having to write some code. The goal is that you don't have to, because instead of having a plugin for Drupal that gives you a photo gallery, you download a plugin for Drupal that gives you the ability to attach an image to a thing. And then you download something that allows you to resize images and display them as thumbnails. And then you download something that allows you to create lists and then format them in arbitrary ways. So then you can say, okay, I want to create a list. It should be a grid view. It should grab this image from this thing. So I want to create a blog. I'll create a new noun on my site called a blog entry. Then I'll say blog entries have images and they have a video attachment. And then I can say I want to create a gallery of my blog images. So load the image field off of a blog entry if it's published and display it like this. It doesn't just stop at building out your content. WordPress and Joomla have caught up on being able to allow you to define your own content. It also extends to building out rule sets. So if I post a piece of content, I want you to automatically schedule it. And after 3 weeks, I want you to turn off the comments. And then after 3 days after that, I want you to turn it back on again. You can just make up arbitrary rules like that, click it together without ever writing any code. That's awesome. But it also has a really extensive API, so where you do find something, where no one's built you the Lego block that you need to put these things together, well, you can step up and write your own little Lego block that's your weird pirate ship piece that's the mast that just doesn't come in the box. You can just write that up yourself, hook it together, and then you've got that piece that you just couldn't build and couldn't find anywhere. So that's what's awesome about Drupal. In terms of the software, it's often said of Drupal, the Drupal is way more about the community than it ever was about the code. Drupal's code's good, the community's better. Drupal has a wildly active community and a lot of people that are really, really, really passionate about it. It's got a philosophy of acceptance and a democratic attitude where all patches are always welcome. We might fight shed and argue about the details, but patches are welcome. And the Philly meetup group which you can find on groups.drupal.org/Philadelphia-area. The Philly meetup group, as I said, is how I found ZipTech. It is a phenomenal, really active community. We get together all over the place, but lately our most frequent meetings have been at our office. We actually are in the old Indy Hall over on Strawberry Street, which is right off Penn's Landing, if you're not familiar. It's a really great space. We have gotten over 100 people for our regular meetups. Usually it's a little more sane. Usually it's like 30, 40, something like that. We kind of do show and tell. We kind of do mix it up. Sometimes we do formal presentations. Sometimes we just do mixers. And we are now doing the first Thursday of every month. So other ones will be out in the suburbs and other places, but first Thursday of every month you can always count on coming out to ZipTech and having some free pizza and beer. If you feel like bringing and contributing some beer, that's always welcome too, but usually we have some on hand. Hopefully ZipTech.com will have a bunch of beer. So at ZipTech, we do Drupal, as I said, as our main thing. We build custom web applications for people using Drupal as the platform. We also do training. We do on-site training. We also have public trainings. We've got one coming up on Halloween down in DC. We also work with some other open source web apps, open source web stack stuff. We're Alfresco partners. Alfresco is a document management system. We do a lot of stuff integrating Drupal with Alfresco. We also have been working recently with Node.js, which I guess is the next slide. We also have an open source glue kind of middleware application written in PHP called Houston that lets you connect something like Drupal or WordPress up to something like Salesforce. We've also done integrations with that with Node.js so that if somebody updates something in Salesforce and someone else is viewing the page in Drupal, they'll see those updates in real time. Maybe not on the Salesforce side, because we don't have control there and they don't have those cool features, but on the Drupal side. So that's a little bit about us. We're currently hiring a couple of junior developers. So you don't have to be a senior expert developer or even really know anything about Drupal. If you're interested in the web, if you're coming to things like this, please apply. A little bit about why I really love the Drupal community in Philly. Like I said, it's really active. It's really collaborative. You see a lot of people getting together and working on projects. A lot of freelancers come out to the meetups every week, and there's a lot of sort of show and tell and collaboration around that. So it's sort of not just about getting paid to build something. It's really about coming together as a community. And that's sort of what has kept me jumping off into some of the other things that I get interested with and start playing with, some Python or some Ruby or some Node.js. The Drupal community makes it a lot more than just tech. Does anybody have any questions? All right, thanks guys.
We can also do questions over beer afterwards. So. Up next we have Yasmin Mustafa of Girl Develop It. I was hoping to have more time in between the speakers, but we're on a tight schedule, so you are all spared from my sense of humor. What, bro?
No.
Okay, we'll hear that over beer.
Hello. So I'm an Indie Hall member, and I was in Indie Hall last night, and I ran into Alex, and I asked him how he was going to structure his talk, and he said he was going to do it without PowerPoint. So that inspired me to do the same thing. I don't have any PowerPoints. I'm not sure I'm as charismatic a speaker as Alex, but I'm going to try. So let me start I'll tell you a little about myself, and I'll tell you about the 4 groups that I run and I organize. My name is Yasmin Mustafa, and I run a software startup called 123 Link It, which is a blog advertising company. I am a business marketing person with no technical background. I don't know how to code, and as you can imagine, that's what has been one of the biggest challenges in running my company. I have an international team, or I had an international team in Romania who was doing all the programming for me. They would come to me, they would ask me about these bugs and these features, and they would talk all this jargon and technical stuff, and I had no idea what they were saying, and really quickly I figured out I need to learn this stuff. And I wanted to get into programming, but I didn't know how to start. So I started asking people in the community, and everybody gave me different advice. And one of the things I heard about through Twitter was this group called Girl Develop It. I'm not sure who's heard of Girl Develop It, or if anybody knows Sarah Chips in New York. Great. So Sarah Chips started this group in New York. Really, she found herself to be the only female programmer in her computer science class. And she would feel dumb raising her hand and asking questions as the only female. And I can imagine how that feels like. To be the only person, to be the minority in a group of people and not be sure if you're asking the right question. And she actually even got heckled by her classmates in her class. So she ran into other women who wanted to get into technology, but they kind of had the same issues. They saw that it was a male-dominated field. They didn't know how to start. And she said, okay, well, I'm just going to start this Girl Develop It group, which is basically an organization that provides programming classes to women. It's women only, no men allowed, and they start by teaching HTML, CSS, move into HTML5, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, all kinds of programming languages. And I heard about it, I really, really liked it. I hopped on the Bolt bus for 4 weeks, 4 days weekly, and I took the class. I liked it a lot, and I asked her about starting a chapter in Philly. She contacted me earlier this year, and Girl Develop It Philly was born. So we just had our very first class in September. It was sold out. It was to 30 women, and it was a fantastic session. I learned HTML, CSS, and I developed my very first website, which I'm really, really proud of. I'm not going to show it to you because I also found that I am not a designer at all. And then we have a class coming up called WordPress 101 for anyone that wants to learn. It's how to build a website on WordPress. That's going to be coming up on November 2nd. And let me make sure I covered everything. And one thing I just want to mention is we're looking for volunteers, teachers. If there's anyone interested in teaching and running classes, definitely let me know. And another group I'm also involved in is called Tech Girls. So Tech Girls is a little different. Tech Girls actually helps middle school girls get into technology. There's been a bunch of studies that found that it's during middle school that girls decide what area, what genre they want to get into, and it's during that time that they decide they don't want to get into technology. They think that it's too geeky. They think that it's, you're all alone in a room all by yourself. It's not interesting. And the whole idea of the group is just to gain interest, help women find interest, or help girls find interest in technology. I'm actually going to read some stats here that I pulled from our website. From the study. So we found that middle school girls are using computers and the internet at the same rate as boys. However, teenage girls are 5 times less likely to consider a tech-related career. Only 17% of students who graduate with computer science majors are women. And lack of awareness and availability has been cited as the main factors for women's involvement in IT. As a woman in tech, I can't tell you how I can't stand it when I go to a tech event and a guy comes up to me and says, oh, so are you the marketing person for 123 and or an investor will say something like that to me, and I don't want to get into the whole let's have more women in tech today. I really, really do believe in it, but I think too many people focus on the wrong aspect. They focus on, oh, you know, we don't have, women are underrepresented in technology. And while I agree with that, I want to focus on more on why we need more women in technology. And the number one reason I believe we need more women in technology is we need diversity. You have to have diversity to spawn innovation. And that's why I wholeheartedly believe in this, in having more women in technology. So Girl Develop It, it's all programming classes for women, to help them learn the skills that they need. Tech Girls is more focused on gaining interest to middle school girls to get into technology. So what we do is we run monthly events. We just did a making jewelry event. We're doing a WordPress class. I'm actually going to be running that in December. Definitely go to the site and check it out if you're interested. And we're actually looking for volunteers. If anybody wants to run a tech-related event, if anybody wants to be part of the marketing committee, I know they're looking for stuff there. So those are the two main groups. And then two other groups that I'm a part of. These are more recreational type of groups, and they have to do with Philly startup leaders. And anybody here familiar with Philly startup leaders? For those of you that have not heard of it, it's an organization for entrepreneurs, and I started two groups within the club. Really, I started them for me, and I found other people wanted it as well. One of them is the PSL Poker Club. Any poker players? All right, well, you guys should definitely sign up. We run monthly games, and it's a $20 buy-in. It's tournament style, no limit Texas Hold'em. You just show up, give $20, lose your money to me, and then you go The next one is actually coming up. It's November 10th, Thursday. It's going to be hosted by 811, which is a local marketing company in Center City. And the PSL Poker Club, or the PSL Book Club, I started that because I had a huge stack of business books, and I had a huge stack of fiction books, but I kept reading the fiction books and ignoring the business books. And I said, well, maybe if I started this group, I would be held accountable to reading these business books that I keep looking through and then I keep putting down and grabbing something else. So I started that at the end of the year, and we meet monthly, and we just go to Cozy, and we discuss the book that we read. Every month we choose a new book. This month we're doing The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. We've done past books like Good to Great. We've done Getting to Yes, which is a negotiation book, which I highly recommend. And that's pretty much it. I listed all the groups on my site. It's M as in Mary, Yasmin, and yasmin.com. So there's going to be a list of all the groups, the missions, the links to sign up if you're interested. Okay, thanks.
Next up, we have Louis Strickoff of the Philadelphia Area Distance Learning Association. I believe that's PA, New Jersey, and Delaware. Right. And I'll tell you a little bit about his organization. Once PowerPoint decides to fire up. Okay.
All right. I want to, of course, thank PANMA for inviting me here. I've been involved in PANMA forever. Just a little bit about me. I have a master's degree in educational media. I've always seen media. I was a Philadelphia school teacher as my first career, and always thought that the educational experience should be much more than sage on the stage and someone lecturing all the time. So I see media as a piece of chalk in the hands of educators. A little bit different. I'm not a programmer. I've worked with programmers, love working with programmers, love working with new media artists, and that's why I'm involved in PANMA. This organization is 10 years old at this point. We have an annual conference that draws over 200 professionals from the academic world, from the corporate world, from government, etc. Just today, the reason why I'm a little bit dressed up, I just came from a conference at the Philadelphia Convention Center, over 5,000 attendees. E-learning, mobile learning is very huge. If you haven't looked into that marketplace as a way to advance your career, you really should. It's moving very rapidly, it's very popular, and there's money to be made in it. So I run the Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey chapters, and basically like a lot of these other groups, this all happened very organically. I was in the business, in the sales marketing part of the business, working for a new media company that wanted to get involved in the use of educational technology. And I just went out to people I knew and said, hey, let's all get together and talk about issues that are involved in this new area of e-learning. 60 people showed up at that first meeting. Eventually, we rolled ourselves into the USDLA, which is the United States Distance Learning Association, which has chapters right now throughout the world. So I'm the executive director and the founder of this group. As I said, it's 10 years old. Go to PANMA.org. And what we do is, as I said, we're part of a national organization. It's really, we're very dedicated to an open exchange of ideas, sharing new techniques, etc., which is moving all the time, and to advance the field of distance education and e-learning. As I said, we have our annual conference coming up. It's going to be at Temple University at the Ambler campus. It was at Penn State for many years. This is our first year at Temple. It's on the 18th of November. As I said, we get about 200 people. We're going to have a futurist, someone in the business world who talks to corporations and academic institutions about what will the future bring. Matter of fact, I think the presentation is the future has moved and there's no forwarding address. We have going to have 3 tracks, 15 presentations. There's going to be a track for developers. You can go to whichever one you want, it doesn't matter. A corporate and an academic track as well. It's usually, if you want to join and go to the annual meeting and become a member, it's $200. But because you're here, and if you send me an email, you can get the same deal for $100, 50% off. So you can go to the conference and become a member of the group. We have meetings at different corporate headquarters, academic institutions. We usually get 40, 50 people at a regular meeting. A lot of people are decision makers. We probably don't have that many programmers there, so we'd love to have more and more programmers. But we do have people who run departments that would love to find people who know how to advance what they're doing as far as programming is concerned. So if you want to contact me, here's where you contact me. Here's my contact information. If you want to find out more about our annual conference, here it is. As I said, it's a field that is a growing and rapidly moving field. Mobile right now is really where the big buzz in the industry. So if you're developing mobile apps, if you know about mobile learning, as you can see, this is a little bit different approach than just programmers here. At our meetings, as I said, we do have a lot of representatives from these groups. I don't really know what else I have to say. Any questions about our group at all? We are encouraging people to come. You do get 50% off. All right?
Everything seems to be mobile these days, right? When you get down to it. Last but not least, okay. Last but not least, we have Chris Morrell, who's involved in everything, and is also a PANMA board member. But yeah, he's literally involved in just about everything. He's done a lot of PANMA talks in the past on HTML5, CSS3, WordPress. I'm sure I'm missing about 5 of them. But now I've talked long enough for him to do Aesthetics Mobile, and here we go.
Excuse me. So, my name's Chris. From 9 to 5, I am the Chief Technology Officer at an international trade organization. It's incredibly boring, so that's why I do all this other stuff. I'm involved in a bunch of different things. You can read about it on my blog if you're interested. The one that I want to talk about today is the Philly New Media Hub. So I'm going to be talking about that, which is also going to be sort of an overview of the tech scene in Philly. I'm approaching it a little bit differently than Sean. The New Media Hub is mostly like monthly or like smaller events, just because it's all stuff that's pulled from iCal feed, so it kind of is just whatever I can get. So it's going to be a slightly different overview. I'm glad I don't want to repeat too much. So in 2007, I was kind of in the same situation that some of you guys are in. I was looking for tech stuff in Philly, and I just didn't know where to go. I ended up going to this Adobe Airbus tour just because I heard about it. I got an email from Adobe. They said they were going to be at the Franklin Institute. I was okay, I'll check it out. And while I was there, I talked to someone who said, hey, you should check out this thing called PANMA, which I did. And through PANMA, I just found out there's like a million different things going on, and I didn't know about any of them. So I said to myself, like, why don't I know about these things, and what can I do to make that better? And that's how I came up with the Philly New Media Hub. So we've got a Twitter account, we've got RSS feeds, we've got an iCal feed. The Twitter account is at New Media Hub, and everything else is at PhillyNewMediaHub.com. Basically, what we do is pull from about 35 different event calendars in the city, another 35 local blogs, there's a lot of overlap there, and about 20 mailing lists, and aggregate all that content into one place. And what that looks like is this. Basically, most of what I focus on is the events, because that's what I was interested in. So you're going to get a big calendar of all the upcoming stuff. But there's also some local blog aggregation, mailing list stuff. And I keep on saying this, I shouldn't say I'm going to soon because I've been saying that for a year, but at some point I'm going to start aggregating Philly Twitter stuff so that people can sort of post out to the hub. So again, that's PhillyNewMediaHub.com. So I just want to talk about a few other active groups in the area. I tried to highlight the ones that we're talking today so I could skip those. There are a lot of different groups focused on different types of CMSs. So you've got Joomla, Drupal, WordPress, all that. SEO, databases, just about everything there's a group for nowadays. And when I was putting together this list, I realized that I haven't updated my system in a while. So if people know of groups that aren't on the New Media Hub, or if your group is on there but the events haven't been listed, it just sometimes the iCal feeds change and I haven't updated it, so get in touch with me. There are also a bunch of active blogs in the area. These are a few of the ones that were most recently active on the site. I just threw them up there. But there are lots of different bloggers, and if you guys are bloggers, again, get in touch with me. I'd be happy to put it up on the site. We have, I actually don't have the stats for the RSS feed. Most of the traffic comes through Twitter, but there's hundreds of people that would get access to your blog through this, so it's a great place to promote yourself. Finally, I aggregate mailing lists, but when I was looking at it, I realized there's only 3 lists that have any updates on my system for like the last year. So that's something I'm going to look into, but there are a bunch of mailing lists, and even though they're not listed, their messages aren't listed on the site. If you scroll to the very bottom, there's like a list of 20 that you can check out. A few of the upcoming events in Philly. Now, these skip some of the bigger events because, again, it's focused more on the small monthly get-togethers, but we got the JavaScript workshop mentioned earlier. There's a game development workshop, intro to databases, the WordPress meetup, Drupal meetup, protection and infringement on digital content, and other things. The font is not on this system, so it's not lined up properly. And that's just in the next 2 weeks. If you go through the whole calendar, there's just a ton of stuff happening in Philly. And it's so much of it's great, you can't see all of it, but like, if you're interested in one particular niche, like, you'll find it. So again, I'm Chris Morrell, the website's Philly New Media Hub. Thank you so much for coming.
So it was pointed out to me today by a coworker. This was unintentional, but I really did the Steve Jobs look today. So with that in mind, and one more thing. If you don't have one of these yellow sheets, please grab one, take one, and Launch Cycle, Nick's company, was kind enough to give us a bunch of iTunes gift cards. So if you fill one out, we'll put them up on this table and mash them around and pick a couple at random and give out some iTunes gift cards. Thank you all so much for coming. A bunch of us are going to head to the Blockley Courthouse next, which is a block and a half away for a beer and to watch the Flyers kick Washington's ass, and the World Series if that's your kind of thing, even with the matchup that's going on over there. I'm going to write on the board where the Blockley is, but it's a block and a half down 38th Street, just past Chestnut, on the other side of Walnut, right beyond the Chili's. Did any of the board members have anything to say before I sign off? Thank you all for coming, and I hope you can make it to the Blockley with us. We do have to clear out of this room relatively soon because housekeeping likes to get in since it's pretty late. But feel free to move to the hallway, have conversations there, or join us at the Blockley. And thanks again for coming, and thank you to all our speakers. So yeah, sheets up here, and we'll pick them up. So hang around for about 2 minutes while we do the giveaway if you want to win a 19th gift card. You got to be here and win it.